Good evening, everyone. This is Jessica Elliott, Chair of the Environment, Open Space, and Parks Committee. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Carly, can you let me know if we have quorum?
We need one more for quorum.
Okay.
Just going up and down the list.
We can give it just another minute here while we wait.
Jessica, do you know if Malik is attending?
He should be. But you never know when you have a brand new baby, so.
That's very true.
We're just missing one still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh wait,
well,
no.
Now we have it. Great. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our December 3rd Environment, Open Space, and Parks Committee meeting. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:34. Carly, if you could start with your opening statements.
Yes. Good evening. Until further notice, all meetings of Manhattan Community Board 11 will be conducted by video conference. Links to register to attend the video conferences for each of our respective committee meetings will be published on the meetings calendar on our website. To avoid crosstalk and help the meeting run effectively, panelists and attendees are asked to keep their microphones on mute when they're not speaking. It's also helpful to utilize headphones. Those participating by phone can dial *6 to unmute. If you wish to share a question or a comment, you may do so by utilizing the raise hands function. I will be monitoring to ensure that your hands are recognized, and those who are participating by phone can dial *9 to raise your hand. Committee members will be called on first and then attendees. Please keep your questions or your comments brief. Now to you.
Great. We called to order, so if we could do the roll call attendance.
Great. Okay. Biggs. Collier. Elliott.
Here. Also, Collier is excused.
Okay. Encarnacion.
Present.
Giordano.
Present. Present. Sorry.
Heredia. Lee.
Present.
Present. Present.
Mastrota. Okay, great. McCullough. Quinones. I thought I saw her.
You're muted, Debbie.
Present.
Okay.
Thank you.
Schuler
Present.
and Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
Great. We have quorum.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion by Elsie. Motion.
I heard a motion by Elsie, and who was the second? Debbie?
Michelle Wilshire Clement.
Oh, Michelle. Great. Thank you. And we can just do it by affirmation. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Great. The motion carries. Sorry, I missed you, Connie and Francis. Great. Let's move on to informational updates. All right. We'll start with Randall's Island Park Alliance as usual. Is Tom on or anyone from Randall's Island?
David's on.
David. Great.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing?
Great.
Hope had a great Thanksgiving. So yeah,
You're a little bit hard to hear, David.
Oh, is this any better if I hold the mic up? I'm sorry, I'm in the office instead of. Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
All right, I'll try to speak directly into the microphone. Apologies, I have not the best headphones here in my office. So just real quick, currently we have started hosting the Luminosity event. We had the first weekend last weekend. It's been going well. People have been practicing the social distancing. It's smaller crowds than we had last year. So no real issues in that front so far with that. One update that we got today relates to permits. Athletic field permits had been canceled up till tomorrow. So now they're opening them for winter permits. They will be starting tomorrow. Anyone who has applied for a winter permit will be able to get one. All grass fields are closed for the season, but synthetic turf fields will be permitted. Additionally, special event permits for next year have opened the first Monday in November. So people interested in applying for picnics or events for next year, that process has started as well. And then finally, something we've been working on for a while, but we've really seen some progress on is the lighting situation at the park. We've been working closely with DOT Lighting to get some of the outages in the park handled. We had a very good meeting with them out there with the contractor who's supposed to be doing the work. And we've seen large sections of our light outages actually get repaired finally. So we're going to keep on them, make sure there's still some areas of the park that need additional work. But it's been a great thing to finally get done after some real work on our part to get them out there and working on it. So those are the main things I have. Happy if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions from the board? Please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any questions. Are there any questions from the public? Oh, I see Michelle from Michelle Wiltshire Clement has her hand up from the board. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, I was curious. You said that Luminosity is open, and I was curious to find out the amount of people that have shown up. Has that been profitable for you, or has it been a huge decrease?
It's a decrease in last year by law. They have to work through within New York Forward. So there's capacity limits in terms of what they can do related to COVID. It's a timed entry. And it's also not, just to clarify, we don't collect the park itself doesn't collect the ticket gate. It's based off a permit fee amount. So the capacity numbers don't necessarily change in terms of what it is paid to the park to host the event. It's definitely it's a smaller event than it was last year, which by nature of what we're dealing with right now, it has to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We also have a hand up from the attendees. Simone. please feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, I would like to know about cleaning. If you have volunteer events to clean up, or how do you keep it, everything so clean? And but also sometimes I see needles and stuff like that. I live nearby. Yeah, and the other thing about the I don't know if it'll be you or Parks Department, but about the rooftop, the green roof. I think it's such a beautiful, important project with all the systems that they have in place. And if you have any plans to, to let more people know, to promote it more so people can visit and see.
So first, I'll talk about the cleanup. That is our staff primarily doing it. Joanna's on Park Alliance and New York City Park staff out there cleaning up. We do, I think, do a pretty good job of it. Like you said, there are times when you will see things in the park. We do have a host of volunteer opportunities at the park. Not necessarily right now in the winter, but come the spring we will. And we try to come to community board, but also our website is a great place to see opportunities. There's cleanups, plantings, all sorts of stuff that we do out there. randallsisland.org, if you're interested in the volunteer opportunities. We'd love to have you out there. This year, obviously, it's a little smaller than we normally have. So we're hoping by next year, we'll be back a little more in full swing with that. As to the green roof, that is actually a New York City Parks Department building. It's the 5-borough building where they have the green roof. So it's not something that we specifically oversee. I do know that they do have tours up there on occasion. I don't know. I can try to see if I can find out exactly how they do that. But I'm not 100% sure what it is. But I do know that from time to time, they do host groups up there. But that, unfortunately, that's not something that we directly are in charge of. That answer your
Just
question?
for my clarity, David, which green roof specifically are we referring to?
So there is a green roof on one of the parks buildings. So they have the parks has the 5-borough shops building and the Manhattan Garage, which is up on the north end of the park, kind of by the Bronx Shore Fields, tucked in next to the Robert Moses building from TBTA. And they have one of their buildings has a green roof up there that they've maintained, I think, for several years now. And it's very interesting. They do a great job with it. Again, it's not, we aren't controlling it. We've certainly given them some ideas on stuff, but it's that building up there, where you'll see the large vehicles being maintained. So I'm happy to find out. If you'd like, Jessica, I can get you more information on it and bring that to you. I can email it over to you more information about that if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. I see. Thank you so much, David. I see David Giordano has his hand up. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so thank you. Last year, the community board received several tickets to the Illuminati, Illumination, so that we could take and send families out there from our nonprofits. Would we be getting those tickets?
I believe you should have gotten them.
I'd like to interject here. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are working out a date with Randall's Island.
The scheduled time.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
They called us.
Yeah,
I don't,
thank
yeah.
you, David. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, David. Nice to see you.
No problem. Good to see everyone.
All right. We'll move on to NYC Parks. Is Jana Lasorte on, or Sheena, or?
Sheena is on. For some reason, it looks like she doesn't have access to a microphone, but she's a panelist.
Okay. Is there anyone else from Parks on the line? Okay, we'll come back to Parks. We can start with Marcus Garvey next. Connie, I don't know if you have any updates for us.
I can tell you that we are lighting 4 trees in the park this year. so that we're lighting trees on the south side of the park along Fifth Avenue and 120. And those trees, the lighting of those trees was sponsored by Fifth on the Park and several of the residents in the building, as including Nye Whitaker. And then on the north side of the park at 124th and Fifth, we're lighting the tree that we light every year, and that is sponsored by Brian Benjamin, Senator Brian Benjamin. So we're, because we can't do tree lighting or holiday events this year, we just went for lighting more trees, and so making the park more decorative and Christmassy.
Love it. Thanks, Connie.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from the board? Or any questions from the attendees? Okay, great. Thanks so much, Connie. I guess we need Sheena for Pelham Fritz Recreation Center, unless anyone else is available. We can come back to that as well. Is anyone
I
on?
can actually tell you about Pelham Fritz, because they're
Great.
closed, but they blocked off the entrance. So I'm assuming that means they're going to start the construction project on the entrance of the building, because the construction fencing and all that stuff went in just the other day.
Right. Yeah. From our last meeting, they were supposed to get that started. So it should be in progress already. And I think that leaves the question as to where's their availability to go to the bathroom at all in those areas. So
There really isn't bathrooms in Marcus Garvey Park at this time, and people didn't have access to the rec center to use the bathroom only if they were a member.
right.
So no, there are no bathrooms in Marcus Garvey Park.
Great. I'm just seeing in the chat some questions from Michael Lopez. Michael, if you could help us by raising your hand with the raise hand function, we can acknowledge you to ask your questions out loud. That would be helpful. Okay, great. If you could unmute yourself. I believe these questions are for you, David. Go ahead, Michael.
Hello, David.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to know about this green roof, just an address. I just wanted to go see it myself. Hello?
So the green roof is on the roof of the 5-borough New York City Parks Department building on Randall's Island. So it's
Okay.
that's unfortunately Randall's Island is a little tricky with addresses. And I'm not 100% sure how they do visitations.
Is it close to the tennis court?
Yeah.
Is it close to the tennis court?
Yeah, I mean, it's on that side of the park, so the north end of the park. It's
Yeah.
the large
Could you?
parks that are up there. It's kind of tucked.
Yeah, you can get through the
Manhattan
Triborough
Square.
for free, right?
I believe if you're coming on the island, you have to pay the toll. It's free leaving.
No, it's free. If you're coming from Manhattan.
No, if you drive in from Manhattan, they charge you the toll coming to the island. It's free to leave the island.
Since when?
Since I've been out there.
Yeah, same.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Do you have any other questions, Michael?
Well, no, the other one had to do with some Illuminati tickets I heard. What is that about? Does that have to do with the greenhouse too?
No, that's an event that's taking place on Randall's Island right now. It's called Luminosity. It's the Luminosity Festival. We did it last year. It's kind of a light show that's taking place in the park.
Very nice. Okay, just want to get some information. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thanks so much, Michael. And definitely go to Randall's Island website for more information. Great. Okay. Do we have anyone on the call from Friends of East River Esplanade? I don't think, oh, I see sorry in the. Not sure if you want to give us an update, sorry.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here, but I'm not presenting anything, so nothing,
Okay.
nothing. And I'm just an interested party as always. Thanks,
Great.
Jessica.
Thank you for being here. All right.
Mhm.
We'll move on to Friendly Art Park Alliance. Debbie?
Oh, good evening, everyone. I have a quick update. I want to express my extreme gratitude for Diana Ayala for coordinating a meeting where the mayor and other top commissioners from the city visited Art Park a few weeks ago. And as a result of that, significant changes have occurred where work has gone in to remove plans to improve the line of sight. So I also want to thank Sheena for her support and overseeing this. The park is really looking great. They've done some work in terms of on the pavers, but we have to look at that again. The other thing is that now we have the presence of the police enforcement officers that are parked there, and the police, the NYPD is there as well. So there seems to be more of a presence in the park. The green vibrations report that I did with the Parks Department cohort visioning program has been disseminated to the mayor and the commissioner and a few other folks in the community. And most of the recommendations that we put forth are being looked at and being implemented. So I'm very happy about that. The removal of the shrubs was led by Robert McLean, I believe his name was. And he was very interested in coming back with some more plants that are lower, that can bring more color to the park. So we're very excited about that. I did request a syringe drop box as well to see how we can explore that, because we still have an issue with quality of life and some homelessness with families that have been there. We've received a grant, so we're starting to look at programming for 2021. We've put in permits for different programs, and I'm pleased to say that we're going to have our first tree lighting on Sunday. It was supposed to be Saturday, but it's moved to Sunday, and it's called the People's Tree. And the reason why is because when we had an event, people just started donating, and as a result of that, we were able to raise enough money to buy a tree. So we bought a tree, and we have the solar lights, and we're going to launch an ugly sweater fashion show contest where we have Diana Ayala is going to serve as our judge, and we have a fashion designer who happens to be my cousin, which works out well. And he's going to be a judge, and it's going to be Sunday from 4 to 6, from 4 to 7. The contest is at 4:30, and then we have entertainment by Los Pleneros de la 21, who's a very well-known group that does traditional Puerto Rican holiday songs. We are definitely, encouraging the social distancing, the masking, the tracing, and stuff like that. So if you have nothing to do on Sunday, come by. If you need to find an ugly sweater, they're available on 117th Street and 3rd Avenue next to McDonald's. There's a store there, and they have horrendous sweaters for $10. So we're just gonna have fun with it and kind of make this as an annual event to kick off the holiday season, where the first Saturday in December is going to be the ugly sweater contest and the tree lighting. So I look forward to doing some more work and looking at how we can kind of keep these improvements going. And Connie and I are hatching up some other projects, and I'm very grateful to that. So that's about it.
Thanks so much, Debbie. What time is the tree lighting on Sunday?
So it's a solar light, so it'll go whenever but the tree lighting event is from 4 to 7. The ugly sweater contest is at 4:30, and the performance for the group is at 5. So
Great. Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, I see Sheena.
Yes. Someone said horrendous. I said, yes, they're absolutely amazingly bad. I will tell you that my sweater, I will just say 2 words: sequins and pink flamingos. That's all I'm going to say.
I need a new ugly sweater for the holidays.
Well, pretty ones are welcome as well.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much, Debbie. Sheena, I see you have signed in on another, seeing if you can turn on your mic to give us some updates from NYC Parks. Okay. If you could just let me know when you get that capability, Sheena, we'll come back to you. Let's move on, Carly. Great. So last month, I almost said week, last month we had our first presentation from NYC EDC on the Metropolitan Hospital Resiliency Wall project. So we're having our second presentation regarding the art and other questions that were outstanding from last month. So I will turn it over to Charlie when you are ready.
Hi, so Charlie is actually not on. My name is Wahira Marta. I lead the government and community relations strategy in the Bronx and Upper Manhattan. Thank you so much for having us. So before we dive into the presentation, I do want to answer a couple of the questions, or at least one of them that you all had from last week. So the question was, or last time, sorry, was to identify what hazards, if any, are possible to adjacent properties in the event Metropolitan Hospital's flood protection system activated. And so the answer is the Metropolitan Hospital Resiliency Project, currently being undertaken by EDC and funded by FEMA, is to protect the critical services of the hospital during a future flood. Our project is funded and scoped solely for the purposes of protecting a critical facility that must maintain operations during a major storm event. And unfortunately, we are not scoped to look at the greater neighborhood holistically. That said, there is a vision plan to make East Harlem more resilient, according to a report by the New York City Parks and Mayor's Office of Recovery. According to this report, the vision plan considers increasing resiliency in East Harlem to address climate risks such as sea level rise, storm surge, extreme rain, and things like that. And so some of the recommendations identified are grouped into 3 categories. So stormwater management, creation of resilient public spaces, and adapting the waterfront to future resilient challenges and opportunities. So in a nutshell, our project does not directly address those things, but I think our sister agencies are doing a lot of work to build the resiliency of East Harlem generally.
Okay, thank you so much, Wahira. I just have a question about that. Is that's also through NYC-EDC, correct? Oh no, it's DCP, correct?
That's through the Mayor's Office of Resiliency.
Okay, and okay, that's it. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm gonna pass it over so we can start the presentation.
Excuse me.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Dean Pierce. I'm a representative from Metropolitan Hospital, facility manager. Just to answer some more of your questions, there was an environmental impact study done for this project back in 2015. And I think that was part of your questions at the previous presentation. There was opportunity for public comment. It was actually presented to you or sent to your board also back in October of 2015. I can provide a copy of it if it helps. But some of your questions, one of which was if the study included looking at the surrounding area, and it did, and what impact it would have on the surrounding area. And it concluded that it wouldn't have an impact because the amount of water from the tide from the East River would be much more than the flood wall impact to the surrounding area. But I can, again, I can always provide you with that document in its entirety.
Great. And your name again? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dean Pierce, P-E-A-R-C-E.
Great. And you said you're from which agency?
The hospital itself, Metropolitan Hospital.
Okay, great. Yes, it would be great if you could send those documents to myself and Carly. We can put our emails in the chat. I think our concern is that I guess what you're saying is that with the events, the storm events, that there would be damage no matter what, so that the resiliency wall at the Metropolitan Hospital is not going to hurt or help that situation in its extremities. Is that correct?
That's correct. I can highlight that section also.
Perfect. Yeah, this is going to be an ongoing conversation in our committee, which we can talk about later. But let's move to the presentation for today.
Oh. Hello, I'm
Hey,
here.
Tina.
I had
Okay,
some
great.
problems, some difficult problems getting on. I don't know, so I'm on my personal phone.
Okay. So before we move on to the presentation, we'll just loop back to parks really quickly.
Okay.
If you could just update us.
Okay, so we still working on the Marcus Garvey restroom. Hopefully we'll get some more updates as they come, but we're still in progress. Things are still in progress. You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Things are still in progress with that. So we moving forward to that. I only heard of a little bit of Debbie Quinones's presentation that she gave, but we are going to be bringing some new stuff to Harlem Art. I got some people on my end that want to do a lot of great things to keep the parks activated. Hopefully, if we open it back up next spring and summer, we can bring, we're going to bring different things there. So I have different people reaching out to me because they are looking forward to doing some things there, which we did something last year, very little, a small event there, which was great. So we're going to look to keep that park activated so we can kind of slow down some of the stuff that's been happening there lately. And so far it's been working great. We have staff going there twice a day, picking needles up, and at the Harlem Art and the Ronald McNair playground. So it's been working out pretty well. Our park enforcement has been on site, and even PD has been around. So that's been working out great so far. And we're also doing the same sort of project in Marcus Garvey Park. That we're working on, the removal needles and, removing the needles around. And hopefully, this sort of aggression kind of eliminate this problem that we're having here. We're not in that area, doesn't call for one of those container boxes. In some areas it do, in some areas I'm not in favor of that, because I think it creates more of a problem than actually solving the problem. So I'm not definitely in favor of that at all. I think it's so many methadone clinics within that area. That's really, really the key and really, really the answer. So for the Harlem Art, I'm not looking for that particular area, nor the Ronald McNair, to bring that on. I think how we going about doing it now, and it's working much better than what we have done in the past. I'm not quite sure if the Abraham Lincoln projects, I don't know if Russ was on this, because I can't see him.
I'm on.
I believe he is.
Oh, you on? Oh, okay,
Yes,
Russell.
I am.
Well, the playground is looking absolutely beautiful. It's looking,
Thank you.
the brick is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Really. So hopefully, we'll be done with it next spring. Hopefully. I know we got pushed back a little bit because of COVID, but hopefully it'll be all put together next week and we have a big celebration there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and the Wagner field is coming along. They laid down the the artificial turf. So that's coming along great. Let me see anything else that's coming up. And I don't know if Sherry is on about Pelham Fritz, where we fenced off the area for Pelham Fritz so they can start the construction off of there. If she's not on, I'm just giving you a brief update on that. So
Great,
we
thank
fenced
you.
off the front of Marcus Garvey Center, Recreation Center.
Great, thank you. And just a question is, I think last month we got to it and there was nobody on the call at that point, but an item of old business, if you have any updates regarding the Richard Toussaint Park and pathway naming.
I asked, no one has gotten back to me about it as of yet, but I know it's definitely in the talks. It's definitely, somewhere close, but I've asked about it and I didn't get a, update. And I think Steve is on either another business call, and he hadn't responded back to me, but I'll try to get back to you if I can, if he gets back to me with the answer.
Okay, yes, if you could follow up with me via email or phone, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you so
Sure.
much. Are there any questions from the board for NYC Parks? Any questions from the public? Great, thank you, Sheena. Nice to see you. And we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna sign off. I seen the presentation before, prior to that. Yeah, just let me know what you think.
Okay, Sheena, we do have some questions.
Okay.
Just
Go ahead.
about the parks presentation coming up and the second item of the agenda. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that's the I'm assuming this is the soccer.
Yes.
Mini soccer. Yes. Okay, I'll hold on.
Okay, so sorry. If you think they can handle it, feel free. But we do have questions. So
okay. Okay.
Great, thank you. All right, Wahira. Sorry, back to you. Apologies for the jumbling.
No worries. So I'm going to pass it off to my colleague to kick off the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Jessica, am I able to share my screen? I am. I see that now. I'll just make this a little larger. Okay, let me know this is coming up. Let me know if you can see that.
Not yet. Okay, now we can see it.
Great. So as you'll remember, last month we presented an overview of the Metropolitan Hospital FEMA flood wall project that is being initiated by New York City Economic Development Corporation. My name is Anthony Belomo. I'm a landscape architect with Stantec. And I'm going to very, very briefly just recap for everybody that's already seen this and for those that maybe are seeing it for the first time that the subject property is the Metropolitan Hospital campus between 99th and 97th Street, 1st and 2nd Avenues. And essentially the project entails building a flood wall to protect the facility from storm surge during large storm events such as Hurricane Sandy, as the facility did experience some impacts from that event. And we've conducted an analysis of the perimeter. These are just some existing condition photos looking around the perimeter of the facility. And so the project essentially will build a flood-proof barrier, which is a wall with deployable floodgates to allow access most of the time. And then during a flood event, they will be closed. And that will protect this essential facility from impacts from flooding. This little diagram essentially just shows how there's the red line basically shows that there will be a flood wall with deployable gates implemented around the perimeter of the campus. And this is a proposed site plan. But what the focus of tonight's conversation is essentially the fact that the project will also incorporate art. And so Miguel Luciano, who is the selected artist that has been developing a concept for the art installations that will be part of this project, would like to present to you his concept for art. Miguel was selected out of a series of artists that applied as part of an art selection process at the beginning of our project. Miguel's also a neighborhood resident of East Harlem, and is very excited about this project. So I'm essentially going to hand it over to him. And the first few slides here show some previous work that he's completed. And then Miguel can talk about his concept for the art installations at Metropolitan Hospital.
Great. Thanks, Anthony. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for having us. This is, I think these first few images are some previous works that I'm a painter and a sculptor. These are public art projects in Puerto Rico. This is a Museum of Art and Design in Puerto Rico, large scale kind of fiberglass sculpture on site there. And the work in my studio sort of ranges from, again, painting to sculpture to kind of public art projects. This is a bicycle sculpture about the relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States, which is a frequent topic in my work. And this is currently in the collection of the Smithsonian American Art Museum. And so you can go to the next slide. The work addresses a range of issues, social, political, and cultural. And so this is from a public art project about the Young Lords that happened in East Harlem, started in 2019, the 50th anniversary of the Young Lords, and was a collaboration with Hiram Maristani, also longtime East Harlem resident, and was the official photographer of the Young Lords. And this is a public art project from Nairobi, Kenya, that was participatory and interactive, dealing with kites and sort of play and joy as a form of resistance. So that's a very quick overview of some previous works. And for the flood wall, we've been looking at the sort of the perimeter wall, the design of where this will be, where foot traffic sort of will be, and the premier kind of faces that I've been focusing on for artwork are the Second Avenue wall that will be sort of in front of what I think of as the main entrance to the hospital, what I think most people think of as the main entrance, and the backside wall on First Avenue, which is the largest actually section of wall on this flood wall sort of perimeter. And so those are the two areas that I've been concentrating on to develop artwork for. And so these images are sort of concept images that I'm working with. They're still kind of early images that are inspired by ancestral symbols, dealing with some of the themes that are informing this wall to begin with: wind, water, climate, symbols related to the earth. And one of the things I've been looking at in sort of looking at the way that our cultures and histories have dealt with ancestral symbols related to the earth and a consciousness about the earth and our connection to it is in looking at similarities in the Caribbean between indigenous and African symbol systems. Between Taino sort of symbols, Adinkra symbols, I started looking at some similarities in symbols and patterns, and also in those specific symbols that represent, again, connection to the earth, to balance, to fertility, to protection, to environment. And so these initial mock-ups that you'll see here are sort of concept sketches for some of the imagery as it relates to sort of graphic imagery that will translate to both mosaic tile and ceramic tile applications on the backside wall and the front side wall. So what we're looking at here is actually the back of the hospital, which would be the First Avenue mural. Here you can see sort of some of these symbols coming into play with one another. This is kind of a rendering to get an idea of scale, what this may look like on First Avenue. And this is the front side section here. This is a sort of a sketch, a concept sketch for how some of this imagery will come into play in a mosaic, in a glass tile mosaic that would stretch across the central portion of the Second Avenue wall, which is really kind of in front of the entrance to the hospital. And here's a perspective of what some of that might look like from Second Avenue, north side, south side. So these are kind of early concept sketches that are in development right now. And some of the themes I've been sort of thinking about in terms of how to bring some of and really ancestral symbols from the culture and history of the Caribbean, of Puerto Rico, of many members of the community, and sort of bring them forward in a mural that also lets you know that you're in East Harlem. And so this is some of the project, the artwork in development right now. And I'm happy to take any questions or any feedback or comments.
Great, thank you, Miguel. If anyone had attended the International Puerto Rican Film Festival hosted by our Vice Chair Xavier Santiago, they would know a lot about the Taino culture. So I appreciate the connection there. If there are any questions from the board or the public, please raise your hand.
I do. I have a question.
Debbie, do you have a question? Okay,
Yeah,
go
I do.
ahead, Debbie.
Well, this is awesome. I'm interested in more of the technical application of, is it going to be glass tiles that are going to be applied, or are you going to put it onto one thing and then apply it?
So that's a great question. Thanks, Debbie. The graphics right now look kind of just flat and illustrative, but the material itself will kind of animate and give a texture to this. This front side is imagined as glass mosaic. And part of what we're analyzing now is what we can do with the budget in terms of material. And the glass mosaic on the front side would be, the way that they do that is it's prefabricated and then installed on site kind of in sections once the wall is already up there. So there'll be that happens in a studio. Actually, both applications would happen in the studio off-site, and they're basically applied as panels on the wall that are fixed permanently there. And so right now, the two materials that we're considering are glass mosaic tile and printed ceramic tile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't go to Italy and get those glass ones because they're super expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, there's other places to get tiles.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes from those places. Even the stuff that's being done here is a lot of it's imported glass, the Murano tiles, and yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's very expensive. So
that will eat up your budget in one panel.
Yeah, well, that's been part of the challenge. But you're absolutely right. Beautiful, beautiful material, and we're trying to see how far we can make the material go. But the main idea is to sort of activate the imagery in a dynamic way, so that so that people know that they're in East Harlem when they actually come to the hospital. I mean, these are symbols that have been around in our culture for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in sort of the way that they interact with each other.
I think it's great. And what comes to mind is the store. I don't even know if it's still there. There used to be a ceramic store on 116th Street, 115th Street and 2nd Avenue. There was one there for a number of years. I don't know if that'd be helpful. Maybe they have some connections to other lower price tiles.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to check it out. It's like, I've been talking to a lot of different fabricators about this very topic. And so it's exciting. That's part of the research and development that will take shape further in the coming weeks and months.
Congratulations, it looks awesome.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Debbie. We have board member Jessica Morris has her hand raised in the attendees, and then we'll go to Marie Whitfield. Carly, I don't know if you can see her her note that she's on audio through dial-in.
Yes.
Can you unmute yourself, Jessica?
You have to dial *6 to unmute. Oh, she's got it.
There we go.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. And Miguel, it's good to know we have such an asset here in the community. Incredible work. I'm glad I stopped in. So I don't sit on this committee anymore, but I am a neighbor of this corner of our district, and an architect and the painter as well. So I appreciate, this is so wonderful. And to see the rendering of that corner on 2nd Ave and 97th is a delight and a joy. This is perhaps something that was discussed, yeah, that one. And it to the point that I have, and this isn't necessarily a question just for you, but thinking in the round and stretching the limits of what's possible is also the purview of artists, I think, in their work. But from a kind of a master plan perspective, I know there's a lot going on around the hospital campus, and I would just kind of like to point out that traffic southbound means that this is the pedestrian view, and pedestrians will experience the art a certain way. I think the flip side on First Avenue is a different experience. And that's something to consider, what that drive-by is as people are leaving. I think there is a sort of salute and an opportunity to have that be a marked transition from what is below 96th Street to what happens above 96th Street, and to have that be a moment of pride as you move from one place to another. I'm also aware that there is a full block development happening 1 block south. We don't know what that will be, but it is something to keep in mind as you do your work and the hospital considers their master plan, if there is one. That's all I have to say, and I know I hope there will be more discussions about this going forward. I think it's an excellent project, and look forward to things coming to fruition.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your comments. I've been very aware of how this corner and this corridor sort of marks the border of El Barrio, on the east side in some ways, symbolically. And so, and I personally, I very much want people to know that they're in El Barrio, that they're in, a Puerto Rican neighborhood, that they're in a multicultural neighborhood, but this is El Barrio, and I'm very proud of that. That was the intention behind the Young Lords Project when we did that project last summer also, and was about sort of preserving our history. And so I think of this as an opportunity for that to happen in relation to the hospital as well, even in thinking about our connections to some things that we all can appreciate in terms of healing and the cycle of life and our relationship to the natural world around us, even in an urban space. So thank you.
Great. And is there, just a follow-up question, is there a plan for 99th? Currently, it is not a happy passageway. It's sort of the backside. And I know that backsides don't always stay backsides, and when backsides are forgotten about, they take longer to become not backsides.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you're absolutely right. I live on 99th Street too. So I live in PS 109, just down 1 block down. That's my route home, and this is my bike path home every day that I come back from the studio. Literally, I literally go around this corner every day that I come back from the studio. My studio is in Brooklyn, and I live in El Barrio. So these were the primary walls that were like the best surfaces for art for me that I chose, and they're the kind of highest visibility spaces. But I will say that the designers and the landscape architects in this project did a really fantastic job sort of moving the wall inwards and outwards, and adding sort of landscaping, greenery in ways that were much more dynamic than I could even imagine. So it's not like a flat, straight wall around the campus anywhere, and where we do have those walls is where we're actually putting the artwork. But I'll let the architects explain that better. Yeah.
Yeah, we heard a lot about that at the last presentation. So I think that's a good point, and great comments, Jessica. Thank you so much. Marie Winfield, and then we'll go back to our 2 panelists from our 2 board members with their hands up. Marie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, this question is not for Miguel, but about the follow-up from EDC. So one of the questions that Charlie said he was going to come back with was what were the actual comments from the community board during the environmental review process. And he said that he would come back with that information. And the reason why I asked last time was because the community, regardless of the formal notice requirements, this is not, obviously was not going through ULURP, and this was federal money. So the minimal notice requirements to the community board was a simple notice. All of the documents were not put at the East Harlem Library. They were on the 96th Street Library, at the hospital, and also downtown at Health and Hospitals. So the community board did not have an opportunity to comment in 2015. It was the beginning of the rezoning and the East Harlem neighborhood plan process. And so the community board and community were effectively excluded from that process, regardless of whether or not the minimum notice requirements were met. And I'm making a comment here because EDC is involved, and if they wanted comment at a time where it could have been useful during the environmental review, they could have made that happen. And so if they are asking for a letter of support, I hope that is noted, and so that can stop happening, especially around resiliency projects and the lack thereof in Community Board 11.
Hi, this is Wahira. Just for clarity, EDC was not involved in that process.
I understand that EDC was not involved in the environmental review process, but
okay.
Charlie did say he was going to come back with the information.
Yeah, I apologize. What came back to us was that you all wanted to know where the information was, like where the environmental report and comments could be found. And so I think that's what Metropolitan Hospital provided. But I think if you want more specifics, they should be able to dig that stuff up. EDC just does not have access to that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Marie. And
excuse me, can I just answer?
Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, so the report did go to Manhattan Board 11. It says so in the document.
That's a notice that was sent, a one-page notice.
The document itself went to Matthew S. Washington and LaShawn Henry.
Right. It was the middle of a transition of the chair in October 2015.
Okay.
We did not comment. I'm saying this as a former board member. We did not comment on this. And so that's what happened.
Yeah. And Marie, I very much appreciate your comments. I think, this is a conversation that we're going to be having ongoing, but regardless of the siloing of different city agencies, all of these projects that we're seeing are interrelated and part of large, long-scale projects, of which our community has been disincluded from the process in different ways. And we're going to have this conversation moving forward, but basically our understanding is that there's a large investment going on in the city related to resiliency, and that there's purposeful disinclusion of specifically Community Board 11, which is dangerous, not only because our neighborhood is low-lying and at danger. If you look at the flood maps, it's more than, it's more than a third of our district is in danger from flood events. And so seeing this type of project where we have, a wall around a vital piece of infrastructure, a hospital, is important. But I want it to be clear that we know that there needs to be more work done. And it goes from the Esplanade to Central Park, whether that's green infrastructure, whether that's seawall investments. We know that there's been studies done relating to our neighborhood. We have not seen them, and that's a problem. It's a problem that our community is not being involved in these processes. So while we are, looking forward to this project, I think it's one very, very small, important piece, but does not touch the gravity of the situation in our neighborhood. And I'm going to get fired up about it, so I'll move on for now. But we're going to have conversations about this moving forward. Thank you, Marie. Malik had his hand up first. Go ahead, Malik.
Hello, everyone. Just have a few questions, and they might have answered this already, but because I wasn't here on the last presentation, but I wanted to know how long is this process? How long is the process of the whole building? Because First and Second Avenue are, two of our busiest streets. Or is it already built? So I don't know. So I just wanted to ask that question first.
Oh, Malik, you're dopey.
This is hello, Francis. Wow, hi, Francis.
Okay, if we could have Malik's question answered. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adebayo from EDC. Where I'll just take this. I'm the project manager for the project representing EDC. The project hasn't been started yet. As you can see, we're just finalizing design. We're in before the end of next year to begin construction. But with that in mind, the team is conscious of the fact that we have two very busy, streets, and during the course of construction, we will be very mindful of the traffic situations around that zone. We are very conscious about that. The team is discussing extensively. We also understand the fact that the hospital has to remain operational during construction. So all those things have been put into cognizance, and we would make sure that we have very, very minimal effect on the flow of traffic around, especially around First and Second Avenue.
How long is the project, though?
So we're looking. It will take, I would say, from start of construction next year, third, fourth quarter of next year. It will take another 2 years.
So 2 years of construction on First and Second Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Malik. David has his hand up.
Yeah, quickly. I mean, I saw some, when I used to be on the Metropolitan Cab, and I did see some initial plans of the design, and I have to say I'm very impressed with the changes and the artwork and some of the suggestions the community put in a long time ago. But, Jessica, I think you raised a really good point. This is an essential, need in our community, and it has to up and running. I mean, we lost Draper Hall, or part of the use of it due to Sandy. So, we do have to make those changes accordingly. But I think it's we do have to look at the wider district and what changes need to be made. I mean, does this become a fort and everybody goes to seek refuge in there to be saved from the flood, right? So again, I think we have to kind of address these community-wide to ensure that the community is safe. I saw pictures of the community like 200 years, 300 years ago. It was all marsh. So it can go to marsh again, if we don't maintain it and take care of it. Water shall go where water wants to unless we prevent it, right? So that's pretty much it. But I'm very impressed with the design and the artwork, Miguel. It's really nice, and it does reflect the community and the people that live in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our Vice Chair, Xavier Santiago, has his hand up. Go ahead, Xavier.
Thank you, Jessica, and everyone on the committee. Thank you for everyone who's attending. I just have a few questions before I get onto the more enjoyable aspects, which is the design. When that communication was sent out, and this is to both Dean and the EDC, was our district manager and assistant district manager CC'd in that communication, which is customary amongst city agency correspondence?
I can only say what's in the document. and it's those two names that I mentioned.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that, Dean. And again, this is just because I've served the board. I came on like 08, 09 or something like that, and then had to step down for a period of time. And EDC, we always had a very long-standing beneficial working relationship. And it seems as of late that it's been a little bit more topsy-turvy, for lack of a better term. So I just wanted to ask on that, because it's almost always been customary amongst the agency to include our district manager and assistant district manager for the purpose of communications with the chair and the land use committee or the relevant committee at hand, because if there is a transition, they serve as that bridge. So that was the first thing. So if we can get clarity on that, and also too, when directly to EDC, when we typically expect, and again, this is going back to yesteryear with our relationship, that EDC typically, if they commit to a deliverable for a meeting, whether it is virtual, which is the first time we're experiencing, which makes it easier, or if it is in person, they show up. And there are countless meetings I could go back from that first period when I became involved with the board and onward, that relationship and that functionality was maintained. So if you could please get that to us ASAP, it would be much appreciated.
Hi, this is Wahira from EDC.
Wahira.
I just want to provide a little bit of clarity, because I think there might be a little bit of confusion. So EDC is only involved in the construction work of this project. So when the project was going through the land use review process, EDC was not involved. So we wouldn't be on any of those correspondence. As you mentioned, we have a great relationship with the community board. I speak to Angel and Nilsa very regularly. And so I just want to make that clear that we are solely a part of this part of the process. So we're doing the work on behalf of Metropolitan Hospital. But when the land use review process was happening, we were not involved.
No, and that's fair. My comment was not meant in totality, but more in there was a previous meeting and materials were supposed to be delivered and they were not. That's all that is that it was a very easy email, and that we've just been noticing as of late, not just with your agency, but many others, that easy deliverables, whether it is parks or whatnot, and it's something, it doesn't have to be a phone call, it just has to be an email. And it takes 5-10 minutes to convey a document. So that's all it is. And I appreciate your comment. And
Sure, yeah, I would love to talk more about, where there may be gaps. Just like I said, I speak to Angel all the time and want to make sure, you all are getting what you need from us in a timely manner. So I wasn't aware something slipped through the cracks, but I'll make sure that we get that information over to all of you.
Much appreciated, because then we're spending less time talking here. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
That work. And then we feel productive with our evening. That's really what it's, as well as advocating for the people. And so the last bit, I think, and before I pivot, and thank you very much, Jessica, for letting me speak. I just want to make sure that in all aspects with this, and we have noted in our conversations, I want to say thank you to George Janes for his commitment as one of our consultants, and thank you, Marie, for your comment, and everyone, and kind of carrying the ball down the field. If we had experienced Hurricane Sandy, and after a conversation with George, looking up at the flood tides and how everything changes, our 106th Street would have been beyond a hot mess. There's just no two ways about it. And I think that, yes, this is great. We're regarding the hospital as a necessary resource. I think it's a long-term project, both with the federal government and with EDC and other agencies. We need to focus on a more equitable distribution of protection across this section of Manhattan and northern Manhattan, because as someone who's experienced flood events in his life, both in his home and elsewhere, I can tell you water will find a way. Not needing to be all Jeff Goldblum about life will find a way, but it does, and it is very destructive. And I think we need to look out for those people in this socioeconomic brackets and here who have been on the receiving end at last call. So that's what I want to say. Design-wise, love the homage of heritage to the community. Beautiful. And that I think the color palette will be great. With the design, with the plant life, I wanted to know if, God forbid, we do have an event, what kind of plant life in the design will be incorporated? Is it something that can experience a salt water environment for a period of time, or will we lose that and then we'll have soil erosion and whatnot because the way that everything is designed? Someone could comment on that, that would be great.
Sure, I can comment on that. So yes, we are looking at a plant palette that can take both moments or periods of inundation, even if they're just for a short period of time, as well as long durations of dry spells, because just similar to, I think, what you'd see in a street side bioswale, that plant material has to tolerate a lot of conditions, both extreme temperature, periods of drought, water velocity, water running through the soil system, and inundation. And so the comprehensive plant palette that we're developing for the site will respond to that kind of environment.
Okay, great. Just a curiosity, because of pH and salination can play a huge part in the survivability with plant life and in this region. Okay, great. The designs, love them. The tiles, I think everyone's commented on this. Thank you very much. Look forward to continuing productive conversation. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Xavier. All right. In the expectation that we have, ongoing conversations about resiliency, I think we're going to postpone on, issuing any letter of support at this meeting, and we'll revisit that at the next committee meeting after we've had time to review everything and speak more at length about that. Is that the end of the presentation from Metropolitan Hospital today? And Miguel?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So Carly, we will move on to the second presentation, soccer pitch proposals at Peter Minuet and Cherry Tree Park Playgrounds.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Shall I begin?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, are you guys controlling the presentation from the, I don't mind if you control the presentation, if you guys have it, if you want to showcase.
Carly, it's up to you.
Yeah, you can share your screen if you have it up.
Okay, let me just see how to do this. Sorry. Bear with me. Bear with me.
Always a struggle.
So what you'll do is hover, you got it.
Voila, there you go. All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here with you. My name is Irfan Ahmed. I'm the Senior Programs Policy Manager at the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, where we facilitate public-private partnerships. I'm going to announce the name of the representatives of the organizations and schools, and I just ask they say their name and their role. So let's start off with the U.S. Soccer Foundation.
Now I'm off mute. Hey everyone, my name is Alex Bard. I'm the Director of Safe Places to Play at the U.S. Soccer Foundation.
Thank you, Alex. Can we move to New York City Football Club?
Hello,
Hi,
everyone. Sorry, Paul, didn't know you were there. My bad. Go for it. I'm Prospero Herrera. You can call me Props. I'm Senior Manager of Community Development at New York City Football Club.
I'm Paul Jeffries, and I'm the Executive Director of the club's foundation, City in the Community.
Thank you, guys. Can I pass it to Parks Department? Sheena?
We asked Sheena to stay on, but
it's okay. It's fine. I'll move on to PSMS 108. Hi, Sheena. Hi, Sheena.
Hi, it's Bill Gladstone.
Great. Sheena from Park, Bill from PSMS 108. Thank you. PS38, Roberto Clemente.
Hi, my name is Carlina Santos Barton, principal of PS38.
Fantastic. I think we have everyone who wants to join our meeting today. And thank you again to the community board for being with us. We've been working together for a while. I'm very proud that we have been. We first came to you guys in 2017 when we launched, and I was I had less gray hair, I like to think. And so when we came, we presented our first ever pitch at PS 83, and we're so proud to have won your unanimous support for the field. Thank you again for that. We constructed it in about 3 weeks, and it was a big hit for the school. We came back for more playground on East 130th. And again, another major support from you guys. Thank you for making that happen. And finally, this year, even during the pandemic, you guys backed us up to bring a soccer pitch to PS7, and we did it, and we built it, and I hope you guys were able to join. Carly, were people from the community board able to see the ribbon cutting ceremony?
Forwarded everyone the invite. I'm not sure who attended or who didn't attend, but everyone was invited.
Fantastic. That's all that matters. So we're really happy to have been with you guys and you guys be with us. So again, for those who don't know, we have a mission to build 50 soccer pitches. We started in 2016. We are now in the 5th and final year of the initiative. We're very proud to have built 3 fields in your amazing community. This is the mayor, as we all know. Let's move along. These are the founding partners. It is all 5 of us. We have all donated our funds to this project. It is not a cost to the city. It is all donations, it's charitable donations for this initiative. It comes with a maintenance fund. So if there's vandalism, nets are stolen, there are cracks or other issues, we will come out and run those repairs. It is free. It is not a cost to anyone. You let us know what the problems are and we come out and we repair it. We're happy to say that a lot of year 1 sites, including PS 83, have done pretty well. We have to go out and do some repairs at PS 83 when it's safe, but we're very happy that we have the funds when it's needed. Again, free. These are our wonderful city partners. For this presentation, we have brought parks because that is the land of which we are working off of. But we also brought in some of our local schools that use that space, and so they will also come and speak to us about it in a moment. I'm going to bring us now to the most important part, because a soccer field is one piece of it, but the other piece is the programming. And I think this is an important opportunity for our program partners to talk about their programming and the impact they've made in East Harlem, because we built 3 pitches. What have they done? What have they been seeing? And what are their prospects of building 2 additional pitches in East Harlem? What could be the impact there? So I'll start off with Alex, and then I'll pass it over to New York City Football Club. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Irfan. So my organization, the U.S. Soccer Foundation, runs an after-school program called Soccer for Success. That program is run 3 days per week, and it's run in the fall and in the spring to mimic the school year, 12 weeks in the fall and then 12 weeks in the spring. Every child who participates free of charge. And not only do they receive a jersey and a soccer ball, every one of the participants, but we, the foundation, provide our community partners on the ground with training, curriculum, and equipment to run the program successfully. What's really important about that is that we aren't bringing soccer coaches from outside the community into your community. We are helping to train teachers, coaches, mentors within the East Harlem community to run a soccer program, even if they're not familiar with the sport from the start. And that's what our training and curriculum allows for. What we have done and what we will continue to do at both the pitches we've built in East Harlem and across the city is to work with both the schools and other community organizations that serve youth and give them the opportunity to run this soccer program. So that means that the principals on the line today that we've met with already, we will work with them and their after-school service providers in their schools to get the training curriculum and equipment we talked about, and then hopefully use the mini pitches that we build for the program, but also be able to run the program in their schools and in any other way they want to. The goal here, of course, is to serve as many children as possible with a free program that is focused not just on soccer, but on healthy habits, mentorship, and life skill development, which is a perfect segue, I think, over to NYCFC, who has similar but also very different program opportunities to offer to the community.
Alex, before we segue, could you, if you have a moment, if you could tell us how many kids you've served in that community, and if you need time to pull up that number, please do while Paul talks.
Yeah, I'll pull the number as I let Paul and Props talk about the other programs.
Thank you, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. We've been serving.
Paul, we can't hear you very
Your
well.
finger might be on the mic, Paul.
Oh, my finger's on the mic. Yes, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So yes, we've been serving East Harlem with free in-school and after-school programs since 2010, where we donated a rooftop enclosed soccer pitch at Lexington Academy. And there's a number of health and education programs. And Props, do you want to just quickly touch on them? I think we've covered the health program, but maybe talk about the robotics STEM curriculum.
Yeah, sure. So the Robo Soccer program is part of our health and education programs, and it's a program that focuses on STEM while also offering soccer instruction. So half of the program focuses on youth building robots, and then they learn how to code them. And then they develop programs to either have the robot play soccer against other robots, or they will have the robot conduct several different challenges, such as going through cones and scoring a goal at the end, or doing a little celebratory dance at the end. And then half of the curriculum is also kind of teaching the kids the fundamentals of soccer and small-sided games and getting them active. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Do you guys have a number of impact that you reached in that community? Do you guys have that? Alex, you want to start us off, and then NYCFC tell us how many numbers you've served? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Irfan. So across the city last year, we served just over 4,000 students pre-pandemic, as we say, in the fall school year. And in the East Harlem community generally, that number is 385 students across a number of different schools and community organizations received our Soccer for Success program.
Great. Paul?
Yeah, I think I could just touch on, we did an independent evaluation of the program, specifically at Lexington Academy and another school down in Brooklyn, to measure the health outcomes the programs had in terms of changing young people's attitudes and eating habits, diet, nutrition, and increasing physical activity. And we, as a data point, there was a $4.50 cost savings to society for every dollar invested into our program. So we're seeing that there's a need for making a health impact and using the game to be more intentional on how we can better instruct and create awareness about healthy eating choices. Another program which is in the area is a partnership with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which offers free soccer at the Corsi Centre on 116th Street. We've been delivering for 6 years. There's an educational component to that, and prior to the COVID lockdown, we had 100% of the high school kids graduate from high school who were enrolled. So meaning to say that we're putting the pitches down, but the program is important. We have a number of initiatives through the US Soccer Foundation ourselves, mentoring to keep kids engaged, playing, but very much being intentional and directing kids into health and education, positive health and education outcomes.
Thank you, Paul. And as Alex got the number, can you guys take a moment to find the number that you reach if you don't have it right now?
Sure. Yeah, so in total, with our health and education programs, we reach around 4,000 youth every year. And with Robo Soccer alone, we were reaching almost 1,500 kids before the pandemic.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And that's what this initiative is about. It's about going to the places that need it most. So thank you, guys. I'm going to move us on to the next section. This is obviously the spot that we want to talk about, right? So before I begin, I'm going to pass it out to Parks. And before I pass it out to Parks, actually, I should preface by saying we let the city agency partners tell us where they think it could work. When we go out there, we try to evaluate the most ideal space that this could work. We obviously don't want to pick one sport against another. That's not what we want to do. We've built 37 fields with unanimous support. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made because you're substituting one for another. We've done this at Moore Playground in East Harlem. But I'll pass it over to Parks to tell us why they think these are good locations for a pitch. And then I will pass it over to the local principals who find that this amenity could be beneficial to their school. So let me first pass it to Sheena and tell us a little bit about the area and why she thinks a pitch could work. Go ahead, Sheena.
Hey, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so the Peter Minuet playground was actually chosen because it's a very underutilized playground. Not only do we need a capital capital project there, but in the meantime, we can have this court built here so we can increase the the visiting the people visiting the area. It's not the most glamorous, but this will enhance it tremendously, and I'm sure the kids in the school will love it. I when they first pitched it out to me, I thought Peter Minuet was the perfect park to put this at. It has the space, and the community needs it. It's an area that's just been underused for so long, and that's one of the areas. Cherry Tree, I thought this would definitely bring another beauty to the Cherry Tree playground. Cherry Tree has a lot of things going on there, and this would only add to the kids coming out and playing. While we were there, people were scoping out the area. People were asking, are we going to do this there, or is that going to happen? So I welcome the people in the community, and they're trying to do something different other than basketball, baseball, football. The area down there doesn't have soccer. We don't have anywhere down there soccer. So I welcome that. With the size of 96th Street, which is, a lot of time, it's already, I guess, filled up with, pre-scheduled events from the school and from the outside schools coming out to utilize the entire field all the time. So this would help bring some of the little kids out within the surrounding projects. And this would just help it. I thought this would be two terrific locations within the District 11 area. Two terrific locations.
Thank
Perfect.
you, Sheena. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you. And we felt Sheena's energy as well when we were on that site. But to confirm those points, the principals have come on board. I really want to thank them. I want to pass it over to Bill Gladstone to start with Peter Monet, a place that we visited. We obviously chose the site that is the most deteriorated part of the playground because that's where we think the pitch could be best substituted out for the court. Go ahead, Bill. Tell us a little bit about how you think this could impact your kids and why you think this amenity could be important.
Yeah, well, first of all, good evening. And I just want to say that like all school communities right now, we need some good news. And this is great news. And I'm so appreciative that we're even being considered for this. And I'd like to agree with almost most of what Ms. Kaufman just shared with you. Yes, this park is very underutilized outside of the school day. But during the school day, when we aren't suffering and being forced indoors by a pandemic, there's 460 children running around the asphalt with very few options in terms of activities and things to do in that space. So bringing in this soccer pitch is going to enhance it, the opportunities and the options for kids in terms of their recreation. But I learned a little bit more tonight about this project that I didn't know before in terms of the extensions around healthy eating and healthy lifestyles. And that's a big part of what we do already. And I'm really glad that this will just reinforce sort of the messaging that we've been doing and some of the other programming. And then finally, we've been a lot of work around building our own makerspace and getting kids to think around, do some thinking around design work and design thinking. So the fact that you do that also is really exciting to me personally, because I'm not much of a soccer player, but I do know a lot about things that go into, maker spaces, maker labs, and design thinking. and although I'm not a soccer player, we have really high interest in our school. We have a lot of boys and girls in all ages from 3K up to 8 who enjoy the sport, and they have like this little patch of asphalt to play on. They have a hardwood floor in the gym, and we do participate in the asphalt green program, but that's several blocks away. So putting this in our backyard is such an asset. And again, I'm really appreciative.
Lovely. Thank you, Principal Gladstone. Next up is going to be Cherry Tree. The thing with Cherry Tree is obviously there's no direct connected school. So when we were presented this, we said, what are some people we could talk to who could support this idea? So PS38 was a natural partner. It's a block away. We asked them, what do you think about building a pitch here? Would you like us to take your kids and utilize it? So I'd like to pass it over to the principal, PS38, Carlina, to talk a little bit about why she thinks this could be helpful and the impact it could make for her kids. Go ahead, Carly.
So very similar to some of the things, well, to piggyback some of the things that Bill mentioned on how this opportunity benefits his community, I think that this is also an opportunity for students to have focused physical activity that's always beneficial. And for our students to participate in organized sports creates opportunities for them to practice problem solving and obviously sportsmanship. And soccer is another sport to add to their sort of experience. And since basketball and baseball are the sports that they are so familiar with, we have to remember that basketball and baseball they're not for everyone. And so this is going to be just great to add for our students. They are going to appreciate having this so accessible to them and are looking forward to being able to play this sport. So I'm really glad that we've also been chosen to participate in this great opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Principal Carlina. We really appreciate that. I'm just going to wrap this up now. I'm sure all of you are tired of hearing my voice, but just to let you know, it'll take us 2 to 3 weeks to knock this site out. It is not grass. It is not turf. It is acrylic. It is acrylic, so it's what you find on a basketball court or a tennis court. To give you an example, that's what it looks like before and after. Again, we move very quickly, 2 to 3 weeks. We do it very safely. We've constructed 3 already in your community, and we thank you for your support. We're hoping to get a letter of support from you to move forward on these 2 sites, but of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts, answer any questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Irfan. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here and offering up your support. I will tell you that we wasted a significant amount of time internally wondering if we had that support. And I think that similarly to the conversations with NYC EDC across the board with city agencies, we need to have a conversation about how is the board being included in these conversations? I know that this was brought to the table, 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I unfortunately was not part of the board at that time. And just to give you just a little backstory, when we were going through with our budget consultation, we had not heard from Parks for a few months at that point. And then when we were finalizing our budget request, it was brought to our attention that that Peter Minuet specifically was an opportunity for redevelopment. And I think that there's an issue with us only being told part of the story. It would have been good to know that this specific project was what that park was being looked at for. It would have been good to be included in, sort of the selection process. I know, Shana, you mentioned why you chose these 2 parks. I think they're potentially great selections, but I think that, it's a missed opportunity to select the parks without the community board's input, and then to ask for support based on feasibility from the surrounding community members later. So just in general, I think that the community board needs to be included in these processes. We appreciate you coming to the table with these great supports from community members. Health and parks are super important to me personally as a culture of health leader through the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. So I think that's a great added piece that you all are incorporating. But you mentioned NYCHA in your presentation. What involvement did they have? And besides speaking to people who were on the parks when you visited them. How were community residents and other partners like preschools and other groups and organizations who are actively using these playgrounds, specifically Cherry Tree, incorporated in that process?
That's a great question. Let me begin by saying you guys have received the letter of support. Is that correct? I think I've shared them all in an email. Great. So those are some examples of local schools and entities that we've engaged to attest to the power of what soccer could be in that neighborhood and the impact it could make. I'm glad you talked about NYCHA because we're actually in conversation with NYCHA on how best to engage residents and get them included. So obviously there's a process, there's a protocol that we have to engage in when we talk to NYCHA, and we're in touch with them and we're happy to talk to them and further find ways to help the residents. We feel that we can definitely pull this off based on just the feedback we get from NYCHA. They're so excited about this project. They are one of our partners. So again, we look to the community board to help us figure out how best to do this. And we look to the Parks Department to tell us where a pitch could work. We obviously don't know, where we don't live in your community. Though I was born in Metropolitan. We look to you guys, defer to you to assist us on what we can do to make your community the best it can be. And my apologies, we couldn't include you early on. I didn't know that was how it works, but we try our best, really our best, to try and engage as many people as possible to develop a consensus. Yeah, that's where I leave it.
No, I understand, Irfan. For me personally, it felt initially that there was a box that needed to be checked in the neighborhood. So definitely don't. Yeah, just a moment for feedback. But a second question that I had, a board member on this call, Russell, we were speaking recently at another park in the neighborhood about the handball courts in parks. It seems like no one knows how to use handball courts and that they're probably the least expensive thing to put in a park, which is why they're all over the city. But I think we have to have a conversation about what is being removed in these parks. Peter Minuet has handball courts, but are the basketball courts the right thing to remove? Is the playground being removed? What elements are being removed from these parks in order to incorporate these fields?
May I answer that real quick? So the handball court, we always check the handball courts to see if that's a potential opportunity, but they have these extension joints that prevent us from building a pitch because you need a clean surface. But so the surface at the handball court at Peter Manet and at Cherry Tree make it prohibitive. So what we do is that we try to look for empty asphalt spaces. Again, we don't want to pit one sport against another. That's the worst thing you can do for an initiative. And sometimes substitutes are made. We did it with your community board for more playground on East 130th. Fantastic site. The local school loved it because they have softball, they still have basketball, and they have a mini pitch. In this case, at Peter Manet, the viable space that is the most deteriorated is the basketball court. We will remove the 2 hoops. We will replace it with 2 goalposts. We might put a side fencing of 4 feet across, if that's okay, to protect from ball splash, and we'll put a back fence behind the goalposts. I think we've shared photos of what that looks like essentially, but essentially there's a back fence behind the goalpost and then there's a 4-foot fence on the side. It protects people because of ball splash. So it'll really give it an authentic soccer field. That's one example. Cherry Tree, there's really no other space to do this. The handball courts are actually actively used, so I wouldn't want to even come near that one. But I can say that the basketball court we chose based on the pictures, the one that's the most, I would say, I wouldn't say vandalized, but where people do the most amount of non-activity because just the surface is not as ideal as the other places. So again, we went out there and according to Sheena, there's a need there. PS38 has attested to that. Lexington Academy has also attested that this could be a great investment. So I hope that answers your question. Again, we try our best to avoid these kind of things, but if there's opportunity there, let's go for it. Why not propose it?
Great. So just to be clear, at both parks, 1 basketball court is being removed in order to accommodate the.
At each park, at least 1 basketball court is removed. So 1 at Peter Manet.
At least 1.
At least, yeah. There's only 1 pitch going to each community. Each
only
park.
1 basketball court is being removed at each. Correct.
There you go, Alex. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Just 1.
Thank you. Okay, I will open it up to the board for questions. Xavier Santiago.
So just in real quick, I'll keep it brief so David, who's on the committee, can ask his question. But so the playground's not being impacted by it, is it?
No.
Okay, so that's not being touched. Okay, great, because that's actively used almost all the time by a lot of the lower school when we're actually in session properly, and a lot of the pre-K and childcare facilities nearby. They use it very actively. So I just want to clarify on that. Now, do we have any renderings of the breakdown? Because I do know that the basketball courts at Cherry Tree are fairly actively used. Do we have a rendering? What will that look like? Because I think if you're going to go through with a rollout of any sort, and don't get me wrong, because I was a goalkeeper for 2 decades, flying the friendly skies, but it's a very important sport and here in this community. So I just wanted to find out, do we have anything we can look at? Because that helps.
I think we can give what is called a skinny, and I think Alex, you can produce that. But in terms of an actual rendering, we don't spend that money until after we have firm support from a community board, because if we spend the money now and the community board and the residents oppose it, then we've just lost the money to the rendering. But what we can do is that we can do a little mock-up, small one, to just show how it look like, and something similar. We can show you photos of the site that is what it could look like if we were to replicate it. Is that fine with you, Javier?
I'll defer to the committee, but I think it will be helpful. Visualization is crucial, especially since you have 2 opposing sides of that court.
We can get you a skinny. Yeah, we can get you a skinny and some photos that resemble it as early as next week, if that's okay.
Copy that. Thank you.
Yeah, as a designer who, works with these things that may or may not ever get done, I understand that as an issue. But it just even a quick sketch of a plan to show what's being removed and what is remaining would be super helpful for us. Thank you.
Fair point. Thank you.
We've had those plans before when you prevented before youth and education and parks in the past. So I don't know why we can't have them going forward when you're asking for requests. So you've been before us before, and I know you have, and you presented at Youth and Education, and I'm the chair.
Yes,
of
David. Yes.
Education.
Yeah.
Okay. So in retrospect, I do want to just further, what Jessica said. We knew about Peter Marionette needing some adjustments, but if this was a plan, then that should have been presented, because that was only presented, last meeting or the prior meeting before that. So again, y'all just didn't come up with that. Then the second question would be, with Cherry Tree Park, have you spoken with the person that runs the basketball tournament and how this will impact? Because we also gave letters to support for the basketball tournament, but you did not mention anything about speaking with the basketball, the people that run the tournament. So there is a basketball Cherry Hill tournament that's been running for years. That's a very big and active piece in our community that takes up space, and it's not just both courts. How would that still be accommodated going forward? So, it's great that we want to partner and do these things with other schools, but we don't want to lose the fact of the community that does utilize these services already. And I'm a component for, fixing our parks and making them accessible. And, we've supported all the programs in the past. I'm stationed at 72 Lexington Academy. It's a wonderful court up there on the roof. The program is wonderful that's there. That's not what I'm saying, but I want to make sure that we address and that we include all parties that's involved. And it just seems funny that one party is not mentioned in this whole discussion about that one particular site and how that would impact a tournament that does actually have kids off the streets and involved in positive activities in the community.
Okay, maybe I can answer that. It would not impact that was mentioned. Let me back up a little bit. This was brought to my attention that they was coming to the mayor's office, brought it to my attention that they was coming back to District 11 in order to gather sites. And when they chose both of these locations, I thought it was a great idea to do so. This will not impact the basketball tournament, the skip basketball tournaments at all. They used the first 2 basketball courts. There are 3 basketball courts there. And we took the latter of the 3 and closer to the handball court. And the other courts are utilized for their tournaments. So when they made the suggestion for that particular site, I know about the courts because I know the guy that used to run the tournaments who had passed away, and I know how they utilize the area, and the tournaments are done during the daytime, and then it's open back up to the public and once they're finished after the games are open. So they have total utilage of the courts or 2 courts, but the 3rd court they do not utilize because we do not rent out all 3 courts because we use it for the public. So when they mentioned this particular site, I thought this was a great idea for this. I don't get to make the mayor's office and people above me, they choose the locations and then they ask for our input. So that's why they came to you.
That's exactly what Jessica was saying. We are equally in that input that should be provided.
And that's why,
so whether that's a comparable site or not.
No. What I'm saying is that's why they came to bring it to your attention now. That's why they came to present it.
Right.
Right. So that's why they're here today to present it.
Yeah.
So they're not going around anyone. When they brought it to our attention, when the mayor's office brought it to our attention.
I'm not accusing anybody of going around. I'm saying that we equally need to be included once we start saying where are sites in the community.
But I don't get to. What I'm saying, I don't get to choose the sites. The mayor's office picks the locations. So it's not me personally saying that this site. When they brought up the 2 locations, I thought it was a great idea. And when they asked for my input on it, I let them know that it was a great idea for this to take place at these 2 locations. All
right.
We're not trying to go around the community board. None of that.
I understand, Sheena. No, I understand.
We want to make sure that the existing people that utilize will not be outputted by something else coming in.
No, we wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't allow them to do that because I know what's going on there at both locations.
Again, gave a letter of support for that place to continue to operate in the manner that it does. So we cannot say, we have to make sure, and I would say that we do need to speak to the people that run the tournament to ensure that they're aware of the project and how that would impact their tournament.
I can agree with. Hold on, I can agree with you on that part. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I don't want to knock down that idea of putting something.
We should, as a board, regardless of what you do, we need to do that as a board. So and as our entity.
Okay.
Or 2.
If I could interrupt you all,
I understand,
and so we can move on.
I quite understand.
Thank you, David and Sheena. I think the point that we're trying to make is that, we heard from Parks in September or October that there was a planned project, but, for us to have known what that project would have been helpful if that was already known information. And then to be given the time and space to have this presentation by y'all and then to go out and do our due diligence with the community. So I know Carly has a question, but we'll move to that and then we'll make some final remarks about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, David. And thank you, Sheena. I actually was going to bring up David's point about the tournament, the basketball tournament. As David mentioned, we have previously supported the basketball tournament, as well as, unfortunately, he passed away, the person who started it all, Skip. We also passed a street renaming for him. I think it's being heard by council now. So this basketball tournament is, and this group, they are a pillar to the community. I've heard I don't want to get ahead of myself. So yes, I think that the committee absolutely should reach out to that group and do their due diligence. And it's not a slight against the soccer pitch whatsoever, but I think we owe the respect to them to reach out to them first. The second question. The second thing I wanted to add. So Sheena, when you were introducing the sites, when your phone called on you, you had mentioned something along the lines of while like this is how the soccer pitches are a great idea, why especially while we wait for capital upgrades. So forgive me if I missed this part of the presentation. I know that the pitches are temporary and they were fastly built, and that's part of the benefit of them. But how long? And I'm sorry again if this was answered already. How long will the soccer pitches be? How long will they be there for? That's the first question. So if you can answer that.
And what's next?
Okay. The cap. We had another project. They installed one at Fred Johnson in the District 11 area, District 10 area, and the playground went on the Capitol. We reinstalled the mini soccer back at the location, whereas we didn't cause any damage to the area, but we fixed the pavement and we reinstalled the mini soccer. But to back it up to District for Peter Minuet, we propose. I just came back to District 11 3 years ago, and I've been pitching out Peter Minuet for a very long time. And the playground just never came about to fruition. So maybe everyone didn't get the recommendation of having this park done over again. There is no plans to get this playground redone right now. There's nothing in. We have just requested it past September.
I'm sorry, Sheena. I just want to stop you there because that's not my question. I didn't assume that there was a capital project underway for Peter Minuet. It was more so the question is, are these soccer pitches temporary? Are they permanent? How does that lease work? And I think Irfan wants to speak to that.
Yeah, may I just speak to it? Because we had an agreement between the city of New York and the city agencies on the lifespan of the pitch. So the pitch it's a gift. It's a philanthropic gift to the community. And the idea is that it's supposed to be protected for up to 8 years. That's the maximum life. The maintenance fund that you have access to runs through those 8 years to give it a fresh life. It is totally up to the community board after 8 years if you want to remove it, if you want to destroy it. We hope you don't. We hope you see the value in it, and we hope it continues to bring about fruitful benefit. But that is the agreement. It can go up to 5 years as well. But if we run repairs on it between 0 to 5 years, it automatically gives it 3 years life. So it goes 8 years maximum, but minimum 5.
Okay, and then once
redo it, then you would have to just redo it if we kept it, right? Like redo the court again, right? After 8 years, after
8 years. After 8 years, you can decide what you want to do with it. If you want to renew it, fine. If you don't, then don't. You can demo it. No hard feelings.
Great, thank you. And then I really just wanted to briefly speak to what has already been mentioned, like the conversation between David and Sheena and what Jessica had mentioned. The committee's goal. The committee ultimately works to activate all of our playgrounds. We want to see them improve. We're happy that the city is considering bringing these projects to these parks within our district. And I want to emphasize to Sheena that there is no criticism of the work that you do. We know firsthand that you advocate for our parks. I think that where the criticism lies is not against you, not against the soccer pitch itself. It's more so the decision-making process. And like you said, Sheena, like your higher ups are the ones who were involved in that. And yes, they're here now presenting the soccer pitch, and we're so appreciative of that. But it's the fact that the decision was made behind closed doors and basically told to you, which ultimately you weren't even included in the decision-making process. So that's ultimately where the criticism lies. And ultimately, and as Jessica mentioned a number of times, not even with this presentation, but the presentation from EDC and the issue it's a reoccurring issue that decisions are made behind closed doors. And that, I think, is what we're trying to bring to light here. And it's not at all a slighting of you or the soccer pitch. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
If I
Thank
could
you
just
so much,
add,
Carly.
I'm sorry, may I just
Go
add
ahead.
one quick point? Again, this is just a proposal. If you don't want it, it doesn't need to go forward. It's a proposal. I just want to leave it at that. There was no like guys sitting with cigars and pinstripe suits trying to make a decision. There was none of that happening. I can tell you that. It's just a proposal. So we think there's impact based on our numbers. We know your neighborhood was hit hard by the pandemic, and that's what drove us to say, what can we do for this neighborhood if there's a possibility? So again, just a proposal. We're willing to jump through the hoops of talking to whoever you think we need to talk to make this happen if you believe in it and you believe it'll make an impact. I'll leave it at that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Irfan. And yes, I second what everything Carly said. I think we're just a little taxed as a community board with the lack of transparency across the board from city agencies in general and electeds, everybody. So we're just trying to resolve those issues. And this is where we're at. So, but yes, we appreciate the project, and obviously we want the best for the community. Health equity is an important issue. Getting kids out and activated in the community is an important issue. So obviously this is an important project. Russell, I'm going to give Russell a quick chance, and then we'll come back to Xavier, and then we need to move on.
Okay, I think what I'm hearing is all on target on how the agencies are working directly around, even it's from the mayor's office, working directly around the community. But I wanted to, if Carly didn't say that, I want to speak on behalf of Sheena. Sheena is actually an advocate for all the programs there, and she's our eyes for whatever happens in our playgrounds and impacts programs. So as she said, things that are happening above her head, she actually most times have to just take orders and can't even object to it, but give her constructive support of the programs that are there. So the board should understand that she's there with us 100%. I operate a program and she brings things to my attention as things are developing. So I'm just speaking on her behalf, and the other institutional things that should be corrected are definitely on target.
Yes, thank you so much, Russell. And yes, we do love and appreciate Sheena. So thank you. Please don't take it the wrong way. Xavier, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Russell, for mentioning that. We know how things operate. And Sheena is an advocate for us, and we implore if there's any way we can make everyone's job easier in bringing the higher ups to the table to sit and have the conversation, because again, it's a more productive use of all our time, and we sit around and we deal very much in brass tacks, and we want to get through to a solution in the most expeditious, efficient way possible. So if you bring the decision makers down to say like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, and we appreciate what Sheena does. Irfan, thank you for your presentation. Again, other than what we're going through now, I used to joke, I don't know anything more exhausting beyond soccer, except for what we're experiencing during COVID. So there is, we just want to be able to have all that information. We do care about the youth and their health habits, and also to the sports and the activities we have programmed and supported for years. I am personally not opposed, but I can say that we need healthy ways to integrate people, and who knows where the next great scorer will come from for our team. We know our women's team is at the top of the field, so we need to match that. But in any way, please, if you can get that to us sooner than later, that allows us to make our decisions. And again, it can, as Jessica opined, I work in film, and I can see a simple sketch on paper and see where things are going to get placed. But I know you guys have provided others. So if we're familiar with those park spaces, so you can just address that, that'd be great. And anyway, not going to keep it any longer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jessica. Wonderful meetings. And everyone.
One quick point, Jessica.
Go ahead, Irfan.
As a next step, I will get you the drawings to show where it's going to be positioned, how it's going to look. We'll work with Alex to get that to you quickly. And as a next step, if there's anyone that you'd like us to talk to further explore this, we're happy to do that as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And yes, please don't waste too much time making it beautiful, for clarity as to what's remaining and what's being proposed to be changed. So thank you so much. And yes, it's a great project. It's a great asset to the neighborhood. And, I think that we are going to, similarly to the NYC EDC project, we're going to postpone voting on our letter of support until the next meeting so that we have the time to follow up and do our due diligence as a board. But thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all the great work that you do, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. So a quick item of discussion. I believe George Jane's still on the call. Please feel free to correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect, but we will be having a quick discussion today about the upcoming zoning for the coastal flood resiliency public hearing, which is going to be our joint committee meeting at the land use meeting next week. In order to prepare for that, please, you should have received an email from Carly today with all of the documents for review. It is a beefy document. So I think the main points, just if you could search through it. Thank you, Carly. These are the goals that they're highlighting through the zoning, the amendment for resiliency. And basically, there's a few items that affect environment, open space, and parks. Some of the like green infrastructure in the streetscapes and smaller buildings being able to be added on large campus style buildings in order to house mechanical equipment. So this is important for our NYCHA sites and the open space on developments such as that. So if everyone could please do us a huge favor and be present at the land use meeting and take the time over the next couple of days to just quickly peruse this and let me know via email and Carly any points that you might want to bring to land use's attention at the meeting so that it can be incorporated in their agenda and to give space for us to have that conversation. George, I will open it up to you if you have anything you want to add.
Well, I think that, I'm here to answer questions that you may have, and you have questions that come down after you're looking at this. I can try to answer them. And I'm going to be preparing some summary materials on this. The text amendments, they're 153 pages. They're very technical. You haven't seen anything like this in zoning for quality and affordability 5 years ago. And essentially, many of them are change and make permanent text amendments that were put in place after Sandy. And so after Sandy, there was this policy in New York City to build it back. Right, there was going to be no managed retreat, nothing like that. We're going to build it back, and there were regulations that were changed to do that. And these alter those regulations and make them permanent. The one thing that you all should, I encourage people to think about is, what these do. Essentially, they encourage development in floodplains, because you can build a bigger building in the floodplain than you can outside the floodplain in the same zoning district. And the question is, there's a lot of good reasons to do that, largely because you have to raise your building to keep people from living in places that can flood. But the question is ultimately, is that a good idea? Is it a good idea to encourage and give bonuses for buildings in floodplains? I don't know the answer to that question. It's a question that I think members like yourself and policymakers should be thinking about as you go through this and decide whether this is a good idea. The one issue that Jessica brought up in terms of open space and environment and parks, well, really open space and environment, is one of the changes, which is a citywide change. Most of the changes only apply to the floodplains, of which a considerable portion of East Harlem is in. But there's another change which is citywide, which seems really tiny, but the idea is that you can build in the rear yards, on open space, a small building, 15 feet tall, that would be exempt from coverage, exempt from open space regulations, exempt from floor area regulations, extensively for accessory mechanical spaces, but it doesn't have to be right sized to the equipment it houses. So you could have these, as Jessica was saying, some fairly considerable footprint buildings on the open spaces of, different campuses, housing campuses, or just simply, garage-sized buildings in the rear yard. That's a new thing. You weren't able to do that before, at least have the accessory building exempt from that. And, there could be a loss of open space because of that. But, there's a reason for it. It's not, it's considered reason that you sometimes want to get more spaces for mechanical equipment as you need to move stuff out of basements and cellars. So it's complicated, and I don't get lost in the weeds. Think about the big picture, I guess is what I'm saying.
Thank you, George. Yes, and I would really appreciate if everyone could take a look at that. I think there's an important distinction to be made that this is a zoning amendment, which is separate from the DCP zoning and resiliency plan, which the amendment is going to be going through land use, but we are going to be in attendance and a part of that conversation. And then following that meeting, I would like to set up a task force. If anyone would like to be on the task force, please let me know. But this would be relating to the DCP resiliency plan across the city. And I think that there's an issue that our community's needs are not being addressed, and there's decisions being made about where money is being spent. And we need to be on top of this, I think, more than we've ever had to before. So just an ongoing action item that we're going to focus in on, try to promote transparency, try to promote interagency collaboration, and to inform ourselves and our residents about the dangers of flooding in our neighborhood, and to call attention and advocate for our safety and equity on a city scale to electeds, to city agencies, and make sure that our needs are being equitably met compared to other areas in the city. So if you would like to be a part of the committee, please mention it in the chat, and I will include you in future emails. I'll email everyone and give you an opportunity to be a part of that via email as well. So just keep a lookout, and please look forward to these documents and being a part of these conversations. They are incredibly important. Great. We already talked about the Richard Toussaint Park and Pathway a little bit with Sheena earlier. Again, something that's going to stay on the old business until we get formalized answers. So thank you, Sheena, for your ongoing work on that.
Yeah, I'll find out. Steve is here this evening before I leave. He's in the meeting now on the phone. I'll find out. I'll see if you have any updates, and then I'll email you tomorrow. Thank
you so much, Sheena. Great. We don't have any new business that I'm aware of. A couple announcements. I'm just going to give space for Xavier to make an announcement. But first, as was mentioned in the chat and through an email from Nilsa, Edwin, a longstanding community member and community board member, has passed away. We want to recognize his advocacy and importance to the board and to the community. So just wanted to make that statement. And then Xavier, please go ahead with your announcement.
Yeah, real quick. Well, I'm never quick, but I'll try. I was when I first came to the board, two people who kind of I met with straight away were Francis and Edwin immediately, and they wanted it, just took me right in. Francis is a bit tougher with me than Edwin, I have to say, but Edwin wanted to know everything about me, my family, where I was from on the island and everything. And I cannot express enough. I know things have been very arduous and we're at our wits' end. And I think we've seen that as we've had our virtual meetings. It's not what we're accustomed to, but I can't express enough that as the institutional knowledge we have before us, we must embrace and absorb as much of that as possible now more than ever. And in our exhaustion, if I want to express to everyone on the board, and I sent an email, not just about COVID, but related to mental health, well-being. If you are not feeling okay, it is okay not to feel okay. And we need to know that from everyone. And Debbie, you know, I want to say a little shout out to Debbie too, who's another person who just took me in. Like we're all connected and we are literally carrying a torch. But during this time, a singular moment that the last time this happened was when my own grandmother, who God bless is still with us, we got to this earth. We're carrying that knowledge, but during this time, we can't forget if there are issues that we're facing or whatnot, we need to, the committee chairs, our elected leadership, we're here to help you. So if you need resources, we'll connect you. And me personally, if you need someone to talk to, just give me a ring. I'll listen. And I will. And Francis knows I will listen and I'll connect if possible. But we have to stay resolved in our work with the community. And whether it's a Robert's Rules of Order, which Lord knows, I will go on to no end, or an issue that goes back 10, 15 years. We're all here to help. And so I want to remind everyone that as we go forward, we work interconnected to get over this COVID hump and to remind each other that we're all human and to allow those moments there, but to also bring it back in. So that's what I just wanted to say a few words as we go in, because we are coming into the holiday months, and that we remind ourselves and check ourselves and also give our time to be self-preservative. Because if you're not functioning 100%, you can not only, you're unable to serve yourself and you're unable to serve your immediate family, your loved ones, and your community. So make sure you're taking that little pause. So that's all I wanted to share. I look forward to seeing you at full board and the other subsequent meetings. You're all a blessing to this community and in my life. And thank you very much for a productive meeting. And my apologies for taking so much time.
Thank you, Xavier. I just want to leave it open for anyone if they want to make any announcements really quickly before our final announcement. Debbie, go ahead.
You know, that's one file cabinet that has a lot of stuff from the community board, and as someone who served for 30 years straight, you know, it's when I heard about Edwin, it was really funny, because it's like he was on the board when I first got on the board. He got off the board, back on, and our fights were epic. Epic fights that go down in community board history. And but I still, you know, want to acknowledge his commitment and his drive and his singular vision of trying to do some projects. And yeah, it's just very interesting, because it's like I was going through some stuff back there. And you know, like I keep telling Angel, I have a huge box for institutional memory that I want to, maybe I'll just start scanning and send it. But yeah, I think to Xavier's point about institutional memory, telling the stories, remembering the stories, but not getting caught up in the stories is the thing, and understanding when to step aside and support other people to move forward. So, you know, that's why I come to the community board now in a different capacity. And I'm just grateful, Jessica, for your leadership. And I just want to thank you for allowing an old dog like me to come back in to the yard. But yeah, that was the first thing that I thought about with Edward was like, oh my God, the fights that we had were like,
Y'all had some
and
fights, Debbie.
Francis, you know, they were bad. I mean, like big, bad. Going and I'm, you know, and I call it like and I'm not gonna deny it because it's like I'm not gonna say that we, you know, like we always got along, but we always loved, and the one thing that we had in common was the love for East Harlem. So he will be missed, I have to say. You know, he will be missed, and we'll see how we move forward, and who and what cultural guardians will continue the work moving forward. And I know that
so much, Debbie.
and that this committee can be part of that process as well. And they definitely serve an important part of that discussion.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I would just say that's why it's very important to have the institutional knowledge, but also have wet and green behind the ears knowledge to bring new ideas, to have us look at different ways of doing things, you know, and it's how we combine both that experience and newness, you know, and eagerness to make change and to try new things that make a, you know, community evolves, right? It should be evolving. And so people evolve. And, you know, I took over for Debbie, the Health and Human Service Committee, when I first joined the board, you know, 10 years ago. So it's teaching each one to teach one. As we know, one of our old board members ran tournaments in this community, right? How those little meanings are so important and how we pass the baton, but then also prepare that next generation to step into in that role. You know, and I'll put this out there. Malik, I worked with Malik when he was a kid. I worked with Reverend Pastor Isaiah when he was a kid. And it's again, when I see these young men now take those reins, I know it's time I can step down because they're now going to take us forward to the next generation. And Sheena, I love your spirit and everything. You know, it's about battling and making sure we get it right for the community, and that those that we've respected and do well in the community continue to do well, but also bring in those new things like soccer, because, you know, we have a big immigrant population. They play that game from where they come from, right? And where other people, and we need to learn new things. I bought my first soccer suit in East Harlem in 1972 with the super in my building. So, you know, again, soccer's not new to East Harlem. It's something that's been around, but it's not been cultivated. And I think we just want to make sure we're cultivating everything in need. So I love working with all of y'all. Francis, I love seeing you again in these meetings. I'm glad to see you back with us. So, and Debbie, you as well. So we'll keep the fight alive and make sure it all turns out best, you know, for everyone. My 2 cents.
Thanks so much, David. Love it. All right. Well, Francis, did you want to say anything, or are you? I'm not sure if you're going to say anything. You're unmuted. Press the button one more time. Francis, you're on mute. Francis. Francis, you're on mute.
You're muted. You're muted. Hit the unmute button.
Francis, everything you said was beautiful.
Start over. Okay. Well, you're muted again. I don't know if did you want to say anything or no?
Ask her something about a park, she'll tell you about it. Garden.
You're unmuted now, so we can hear you. So don't press the button, and if you want to say something.
No, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. All right. Just was checking. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So please, our last announcement, the Land Use, Landmarks, and Planning Committee and Environment, Open Space, and Parks Committees will have a joint committee meeting on December 9th, 2020, and will hold a public hearing on the proposed zoning for coastal flood resiliency citywide text amendment. We will be providing input ahead of the meeting, as I stated, so please send me your comments or thoughts by the end of this weekend so I can give that to them on Monday. And then we will attend their meeting and land use will make the vote. And then we will continue the resiliency study learnings and progression through our committee. So look forward to that moving forward. Oh, Carly, I think I stole this from you.
No, you.
Okay. All right. So we will have our full board meeting on Tuesday, December 15th at 6:30. Is there anything else, Carly?
Nope.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great. Thank you, Francis.
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Aye.
Uh,
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. So nice to see you all, and thank you for all the work that you do.